Hi there, my name is Mary Kilolea. Welcome to the To Be Bolder podcast, providing career insights for the next generation of women in business and tech. To Be Bolder was created out of my love for technology and marketing, my desire to bring together like-minded women, and my hope to be a great role model and source of inspiration for my two girls and other young women like you, encouraging you guys to show up and to be bolder and to know that anything you guys dream of, it's totally possible. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Welcome to another episode of the To Be Bolder podcast, where we dive into the journeys of bold and inspiring women who are redefining success on their own terms. Today, I'm so excited to have Karla Blanco with us. Karla is a powerhouse in leadership and personal development. She's known globally as a best-selling author, a coach, a 3-time TEDx speaker, and leadership instructor with the John Maxwell team. With over 25 years at a Fortune 100 company, Karla has become a transformational leader who not only leads by example, but also shares her wealth of knowledge across borders and industries. She's a Harvard Business Review Advisory Council member, an Aspen Institute Fellow, and a true advocate for diversity and inclusion. Karla, welcome to the show. I have been a huge fan, as I said. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mary, and I've been your fan too for many years already.
Thank you. I remember being on a trip and I had gotten your book and I was reading it. And I'm like, someday I'm going to interview her.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for making that come true. Tell us about your career journey, probably at the 500-foot view, but how your career evolved and how it's led you to where you are today.
I reinvented myself many times, and let me start from the beginning. When I was in college, I wanted to be an attorney and appreciated having a guide when picking a career because she told me you engage with people at an emotional level that if you become an attorney, you will be probably living their challenges. So she told me, because of your strengths, you may be good also at economics. So at a time, I thought about business, but then what interested me was customs administration, which required also had some legal subjects and also chemistry, because when you import goods and you need to classify to pay the tariffs, the import rates, you really need to know about chemistry. Then I got an MBA. And after that, my grandpa passed when I was 13 years old, and I love him so much. But when I picked the career and I didn't make the connection, later I realized that my grandfather was a customs administrator. And later also, so I started in government. Then I moved to Intel, and at Intel, my first 7 years were on customs. I was free trade zone specialist, but then it became the opportunity to become government affairs manager. And I joined the corporate or public affairs group. And then later I connected the dots. My father was on public affairs. So it's really interesting how our loved ones really influence us. So when I was in college, my plan was to finish college and backpack in Costa Rica beaches for 3 months, creating my own sabbatical at a time. But unexpectedly, I got a call from a professor who also used to work in the Ministry of Foreign Trade. And he called me for an interview. I went home and I told my mom, laughing about the call, and she was so serious looking at me. So she gave me some some advices, and her word resonated with me. You have to go to that interview. You never know if another opportunity like this will come your way. And I heeded her advice and went for the interview. Little did I know that decision will lead to over 28 years of professional experience. And it was year and a half in government, and then over 26 years at Intel, and at Intel, many different careers. So from finance to corporate affairs, to then diversity and inclusion, and many different positions in between those three tracks.
That's such a beautiful journey. And I love that in the back of your mind, you were influenced by loved ones. And sometimes I think we all should stop and kind of take a look at what influences us, because I think we would find similarities as well. Okay, so obviously you achieved great success. What has been some of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how, I guess, have you navigated them?
There have been many challenges, but there is one specific that really touched me at a very personal level, which was the year before phasing out factory operations in Costa Rica in
Mm,
2014. I was corporate affairs manager, which means relations with government, with the media, with the community, all the external relations I was the representative of the company. So at the beginning, I partnered with the general manager and the corporation preparing. So the preparation for news like that was huge because of the impact of the company in my country. There is a tale about the history of the country before and after Intel. So the different scenarios, etc., those were tiring months,
mm,
especially because leadership is lonely on top,
mm,
and there are many confidential matters that you can't share. At that point, learning about my colleagues, that they were getting married, that they were buying cars, houses, etc., and that of course I couldn't share anything with them. That was, I will say, the biggest challenge, but then it became a huge learning. I recall after everything happened and giving the news to the country, that was really hard, first to the government, then to the country. I recall a friend telling me, I told him there won't be anything worse than this,
mm,
and he told me, Carla, wait and see, because usually life prepares you for what's next.
mm,
And yes, the following year, I was required to close my group for
mm,
Latin America. Later, I moved to US. And when I moved to US, I was impacted myself during the same year. But what I learned from the previous experiences was that those professionals that take action fast
mm,
instead of staying there in shock or just
mhm,
complaining of what if the company did this and that, da, 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 that is over, that is
mhm.
done. So if they move fast, they got jobs faster. And then I decided, when I was impacted in 2018, 2017, I decided to move fast and find a job as soon as possible. And fortunately, that happened at that time. So that was my biggest challenge.
That's such good advice, and really, I think resonates today with so many companies doing layoffs. And I do think that happens, and you'll even see it when people get new jobs. I've seen women write, "I wish I wouldn't have been in like a shell shock state."
Exactly.
So, if you could go back and give your younger self advice, just starting out on your journey, what would you say to her?
I will tell Carla, chill out, relax, and enjoy every experience. When I think back about some amazing experiences that were unique at that moment,
Mhm,
I would enjoy them more rather than being worried about the small things. I will
mhm,
give you an example. Craig Barrett, former CEO, visiting Costa Rica, and I joined him. I was in charge of his visit for the country. So we met the president, we met industry. And of course, I was so stressed out about having everything perfect for him and everything, that nowadays I think, well, I would enjoy more some specific
mm,
moments. And actually, I do recall I was very into the role, that being in charge, that
mhm.
at the end of the visit, he called me, hey, mama. I was like, well, yes. I was like providing direction. So I will say that I will say strengthen your network
Mhm.
because I am an introvert. So when people used to tell me strengthen your network, I wouldn't. And but that was 2017 when I moved to US and I was impacted. I came here to focus on my job and my project. And when I got the news, I was like, oh, and now what? Who can help me? So, really ensure to build your board of advisors or board of
Mhm.
directors so that you keep growing together. You don't, the biggest things in life, you don't accomplish by yourself, you
Mhm.
accomplish in team with others. So really embracing others and set boundaries will be the last one thing that I will tell, starting with yourself. So, for example, regarding building my board of advisor, the boundaries that I will put to Carla will be yes, you are an introvert, but you need to get out of your way and build your network. So go and do it.
It's remarkable that you say you're an introvert when you've done 3 TED Talks, you are on camera on LinkedIn, you've written a book, and the role that you had was a very public facing role. So was that like always a state of being uncomfortable and you liked that feeling, or did you do it and then like go home and just like be alone and
Yes.
recharge?
Exactly. That's the point. Look for those spaces that I can be alone and recharge. I really enjoy being by myself.
Mhm.
But also, I early learned that you can have a big impact by being uncomfortable,
Mhm.
just showing up. And
Mhm.
that is how I push myself and I try to be very aware. When I wrote my book, I do recall my coach telling us, remember always, it's not about you. It's
Mhm.
about who are you going to help. So just by thinking of the people that I can help really give me the strength to go out to cameras and think this is for them.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about your book, Unleash Your Career Potential. What is the big takeaway that you hope readers do?
You are the CEO of your life and
Mm.
career. So take ownership.
Amen. Woohoo!
Yes, so that's the key takeaway. Take ownership of that.
So
Yeah.
talk about your book. Just kind of give an overview of some of the things a reader could get from it. Because I found it great, but I don't want to go down a laundry list. I want to hear it from you, the author.
Oh, thank you. So, my inspiration were my mentees from Latin
Mhm.
America. Before coming to US, I was director of corporate affairs for the region. So, I had many mentees from the different countries, from Brazil to Mexico. And I was thinking on putting together a toolkit for them and for other mentees that wanted to advance in their careers. And it was really nice surprise that my book became a bestseller. And also I learned about people in Australia, London, Malaysia, India,
Mm.
and all Latin America, of course, including Costa Rica and then US, reading about my book. And then I created a workshop because the book has 7 steps. So the first step is creating that self-awareness of where you are today. So that then you design where you want to be and you create a plan that I call 1 5 10, which is a plan for the next decade. Then you decide, okay, where if I want to be in 10 years here, where do I need to be in 5 years? And what are the 3 steps that I will take these coming years to get in the right direction? I also talk about the board of advisors and how they can help you accelerate your results. And board of advisors include mentors, coaches, the sponsors, who are those that would talk about your results or your impact when you are not in those meeting rooms, but also who are the cheerleaders
Mm.
or a scolder. And I have a great story about a scolder. When I became manager by first time, I was so excited to get the results of the manager survey because the results were amazing, outstanding. But then I got the feedback from my manager telling me that the problem he had was that I was behaving as a mom. And I felt really offended. And
Mm.
Mary, I told him, well, if a male colleague will behave that way, will you tell him that he is behaving as a dad? I don't think so. So I think you are a chauvinist. Of course, I don't feel proud of that. And but my scolder, because then I went to talk to my mentor and I told her, and he told me X, Y, and Z, and she told me, Carla, don't get distracted by a word that he probably used by mistake because he's
Mhm.
human too, but focus on his intention, which is
Mhm.
good. He wants you to grow. That was a great message, and I learned a lesson. And from that point, I think I embraced feedback in a different way,
Mm. Mhm.
taking that as a gift for my own growth. So that is the power that having a board of advisor has. Also, we run a personal brand assessment, and once you have everything together, you do like an acid test of your values, your strengths, what are your passions, and even your emotions, so that you can use then your emotions as a motor to advance instead of becoming your roadblocks for your
Mm.
career. And we close the book with resilience, is getting a toolkit, creating your own toolkit of resilience, because life is full of ups and downs, and we need to be ready for when those challenges come.
You said that so beautifully, and I hope people listening pick up your book because it really is a great, I say playbook because I think it's foundational to being successful in how you manage your career.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary. I'm
Um,
so proud of it.
I know, no, that's you should be. Your career spans multiple countries and cultures. What unique challenges or lessons do you encounter while working beyond, the US or just globally? And then
Mhm.
how do you think that being bilingual and being, from understanding a diverse group of women and relating in so many ways, how has that helped you? How has that become one of your strengths?
Yes, I guess in terms of challenges, is first of all, if you are not open to other cultures, you are missing a
Hmm.
lot of growing and greatness from others. From other perspectives. So it's critical to be curious, to be open, and when you are interacting with other culture, really do a deep dive so that
Hmm.
you really understand from where people are coming, because we all are different. I work with US for over 15 years from Costa Rica, so I thought that I perfectly understood the culture, and that when I when I came here everything will be easy, and it was not. And I received a really good advice from a friend that she came to US first from Costa Rica. She told me, Carla, remember that we provide so much context that we can get people lost. So
Hmm.
be very specific, shorten your messages, and ask what you want directly, because otherwise people will get confused. And I find that not only from Latin American cultures, but also from some Asian countries like Malaysia. So
Hmm.
they provide a lot of context as we do in Latin America, and we can get lost in translation. So really, I think at the end of the day, as humans, learning from each other, being sharing l- like that curiosity of learning from each other will strengthen us.
Yeah. So well said. So let's move on to your TED Talks. You're a three-time TED Talk speaker, which I find so impressive. How did you come up with your topic, and what would you say was your biggest lesson that you learned about yourself through the process of doing a TED Talk?
Well, as you mentioned, being an introvert, and probably I hope I get some other TED Talks because when I see my videos, it's like improve one from each other, from the other, and you can see that I'm uncomfortable. Actually, my son tells me, "Oh, mom, that voice," and I'm just, I know. But the topics come from my passion. So the first topic was women on top, and has to be with women in leadership positions. The second one, it was on skills of the future. The name was because the people from TEDx, they put very nice names, superhuman, which was related to how technology expand our potential. And so I was working on a project of Intel Future Skills at a time. And the third one was about resilience. And I shared there, and the name was Dancing Under the Rain. And
Mm.
I shared there a story about an accident that my son got when he was 4 years old, and also a story of a cousin that owns two restaurants in Florida. And after during pandemic, it was really hard for her. So that is what I would say is that when you connect with your passion,
Mhm.
that if you can create a story, and you are a marketing expert and an amazing storyteller. So I think you can share more about how to craft a story. But when you connect that with your passion, that can be something that can empower you. So what I learned is put yourself out, and just go for it and thrive.
I bet your children, do you have more than one son?
I have just one son.
Okay, I bet your son is very proud of you.
He is, and he is nowadays helping me with my business and AI
Oh.
because he's a digital boy. And actually, he says that he should put on his resume that he worked with Intel all his life because he gets ARs and etc.
Uh, I love that. And you just mentioned the important, or you mentioned that your third TED Talk was on resilience. And I want to talk about the importance of resilience because I know you cover it in your book. What tips do you have for women on resilience?
Yes, I think that is like a muscle that we need to build on a daily basis. So learning about what really strengthen our resilience and what activities help us to get back to our center is really important to have that clarity. So for example, in my case, I do meditation morning and night. I love the ocean, so I know whenever I go to Costa Rica, I go to the ocean. Here in Arizona, I go to the lakes. So the water really brings me peace, and that is important. But something, University of Chicago has a study of what the people that is more resilient do versus the others. And one thing that comes across is that connecting with others. People that is more resilient, they don't isolate, they reach out. And another thing is to create a positive outlook of the future so that you keep that in mind. And then as we grow, you learn that things that life is that life will bring many challenges. So today is a challenge, but tomorrow will be a good moment. So keep that positive thinking is very important.
You're passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion. And, I think before the pandemic, well, I guess I've seen the trend, where there was no DEI in a corporation. And then there was all this investment. And it feels like with the down in the economy, a lot of the DEI programs have been cut. So if you're a, young woman listening, or even someone who's a little mid-career and they're thinking about wanting to go to a company that offers DEI, but they're worried that that might be something that's cut, what do you tell people, or where should they be looking from, wanting to get involved in that type of a career?
I really appreciate that question, Mary, because before leaving Intel, I used to lead an alliance for global inclusion. And in that alliance, what we learned is that, yes, due to current global economic challenges and different situations, it seems that DEI is being cut. But what happens is that the news focus on that.
Mm,
So it depends on how you see, because all those companies were really committed on the AI. And companies know that if they are not prioritizing the AI, they may be missing innovation or
mhm,
even higher revenues because well, according to McKinsey research, there is a strong relationship between diversity
mhm,
on leadership teams and the likelihood of financial outperformance for companies. So the most gender diverse companies are 48% more likely to outperform the least gender diverse companies. So those that really want to engage, at the end of the day, when we think about what is diversity and inclusion, it has to do with engagement. And we
mhm,
want, companies want employees to be engaged,
mhm,
because when you create a culture that is inclusive, where all employees feel that they belong, they will be
mhm,
more engaged, and then you will get more revenues. So, and I think you can, if you have a passion for diversity and inclusion, there are many ways that you can pursue that passion, even if it's not just as a specific role on DEI. Wherever you are, you can lead with an inclusion. You can be an inclusive leader. That's what I will say.
And that's great. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is talking about personal branding. And what I love about personal branding and being proactive in developing your own personal brand is you get to write your own narrative. And so this is where I think a lot of women have that opportunity to emphasize their values and statements around DEI. Sorry. Talk about personal branding and your advice.
In personal branding, what I will say is you gotta be aware of what is your purpose, what is your vision in life, your mission, and your values. And you can run a little test that I do. When I run cohorts of people with the program of my book, and when we get to the personal brand, what we do is write this question. This statement, sorry. I am running an assessment of my personal brand. Can you please describe me in one word? And you send that statement to 5 to 10 people, and hopefully people from different areas of your life, colleagues, customers, even family members, friends, and you will get a lot of input, because it's very difficult for people to describe you in just one word. And you can check if you are aligned, and how you are showing up to the world is also aligned with your values and with your purpose in life. And if not, you can adjust and rethink on what is my real purpose and assess. So we really need to be cautious that everything we share in social media, how we show up in meetings, how we show up in events, or even in family gatherings, is always sharing information. We are a brand, a walking brand.
So in your experience, have you found that women who own their own personal brand and put time, energy into it are more successful?
Absolutely. Is being intentional,
Mhm.
it really pays. So it is really knowing what you want in life, how you are showing up, and being intentional on that will accelerate results.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's talk about your coaching practice. What are some of the common challenges that you help people with? And do you work with individuals and corporations, or tell everyone listening how you got into it and what you offer today, and what how that makes you feel fulfilled.
And thank you so much. I started my coaching practice with individuals, but then I learned quickly that when you are in cohorts, you learn from each other and you grow faster. So I created masterminds. So I have a master class that is free and I run that on a monthly basis so people can come and learn about the program. And then I run the masterminds where you get professionals from different
Mm.
industries. And what is beautiful is that each cohort has its own personality, and you will learn from the experiences of others. So everyone will go and do their own exercise, and then we come and share, and we learn from each other. Those cohorts are also, I also partner with companies because as I was telling you, there is a big challenge in the world regarding engagement. A Gallup on their survey about the state of workforce, the one from 2024, just 23% of global workforce are engaged, which has a huge cost for the planet of $8.9 trillion or 9% of our global GDP. So I partnered with companies creating these cohorts, and the cohort that for example, that I run the mastermind with them in the company, they each member will have a cohort themselves. So it's kind of a cascade, and that really strengthened the culture and the engagement across the company. So I partnered with both, with professionals and with companies. And what I find are the biggest challenges that they face is when they let themselves get on their own way, the
Mm.
professionals, uh, because I think early on our careers, we think that we know better than anyone else sometimes. And it just and well, as I told you, when I told my manager at that time, will you tell my a colleague that he is behaving as a dad? You wouldn't tell that. So I was getting on my own way, and that happened with many professionals that I grow in, and I would really enjoy when they come and they say, "I am open. I want to grow," so that they receive that feedback and they grow. But I think the biggest challenge is when you get in your own way and you think that your way is the only way.
I have a lot of listeners who are mid-career, late career, and either they're burnt out with work because they've just, been on the rat race, doing the mom thing, doing the work thing, and it's been a grind, or they work for a corporation that's just a go, 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 and it's caught up. And so now they're thinking about, like, I want to pivot because they've got, probably 10 plus years before retiring. So I think every woman, or at least the women that I run into, seem to feel optimistic about, hey, I could transition, but they don't know where to begin. And they kind of feel so overwhelmed. And you talk a lot about having a growth mindset. What advice do you have for women who do want to pivot, aren't sure about that next move and how their skills might be transferable, and then
Mhm.
just, having that growth mindset because opportunities are abound with technology right now. So, love to hear your input on that.
Thank you. Well, definitely, it's something that we need to have clear is that a company or a career doesn't define us.
Mm.
And we are again the CEO of our lives and careers. The first step, it will be to assess and define what is my purpose in life. And one of the exercises that I love from the book is writing a toast
Mm.
for when you reach 100 years old. That is an exercise that is before you write your vision. Because when you write that toast and you think, who will be reading that, in my case, will be my son, you will get some insights on your vision for life. Then you write your vision, how would you like to be remembered? And then you define your mission, which is the how you will get there, and define the objectives, your plan for the next decade. Something that is critical is to be flexible, because you don't know if life will bring you something that is better for you.
Mhm.
So, for example, when I wrote my first version of that decade plan, it was in 2012, when I started realizing that changes and reorgs were happening. I was like, oh, I better define my plan, otherwise I will fall in someone else's plan and I may not like that. So, and at a time, something that is important is to talk with the ones that will be impacted by that plan. At that time, I talked to my son and I told him I would like to have in 10 years a global position, but probably we will need to leave Costa Rica because there are no global positions at least at the time there. And he was like, Mom, I'm all in. That's why when the opportunity came, I said yes right away. But also, it's important to share with others what are our aspirations, because otherwise people won't be able to help us. My manager was surprised when I told her that I was willing to leave Costa Rica and to have these global opportunities. So really, so I will say, clarify who you are, what are your values, what you want, set up a plan that is flexible, reach out to your network, and build your board of advisors, because that way you will accelerate the connections and the opportunities will come to your door, or you will create those opportunities too.
Ah, such a great answer. What does the phrase "to be bolder" mean to you?
Courageous,
Mhm.
definitely. And I was when I was invited by you, I took a look to my book, because this was written in 2017, 2018. And I was thinking on my values, and I have that. Actually,
Mm.
on page 94, my values are commitment, collaboration, courage, boldness,
Yeah.
transparency, and respect. And I really, really appreciate when people is bold and when people are authentic. So that is being bolder, being authentic.
That's fantastic. We were destined to meet. I knew it.
Yes.
What's next for you?
Well, I am partnering with companies and with professionals, having fun, and writing my next book is about to be launched soon, about leadership, very focused on leadership, and identifying those tools that will continue to help people on their leadership journey.
That's fantastic. It has been a pleasure to have you on the show. I appreciate your time. I really greatly appreciate you sharing your journey and inspiration to everyone listening. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Mary. It's been a pleasure, and cheers to your success.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the episode today. It was really fun chatting with my guest. If you liked our show, please like it and share it with your friends. If you want to learn what we're up to, please go check out our website at 2bbolder.com. That's the number 2, little b, bolder.com.